It was a bright Monday morning outside, but inside the Jeon mansion there was no light. Everything was dark and silent, from black marble floors to the heavy velvet curtains that covered every window. Even the maids were wearing dull colored uniforms. Jeon Jungkook, the most feared leader in Seoul, was sitting in his study room. His dark eyes were fixed on the papers. The sleeve of his black shirt were rolled up, revealing veins that twitched slightly every time he clenched his jaw. Suddenly, a knock. He let out a heavy sigh and said in his deep voice, "Come in." The door opened slowly and two figures stepped inside, a woman named Ruhi and a man named Felix. They were Jungkook's most trusted people, or in other words, his right hand and his strategist. Ruhi leaned forward and said in her trembling voice, "Master, they sent this note for you." Jungkook poked his inner cheek. He leaned back in his chair, shutting his eyes for a second. She quickly looked at Felix, who was trembling. She quickly understood that beads of sweat on his forehead. She eyed him while extending the note to him. Felix shook his head immediately as he had not enough courage. Ruhi groaned, muttering pride, and walked to Jungkook's desk. She placed the note on the desk. Jungkook opened his eyes and stared at the note for a moment. Ruhi gulped down when Jungkook picked up the note and opened it. The words read, "Give us your underground firm with all your secret equipments." For a second there was only a silence, then suddenly Jungkook roared like a lion. The vase fell and shattered into 100 small pieces. His eyes burned with fury. Ruhi trembled while Felix looked down at the floor. "Boss, please calm down," he whispered softly. His voice was trembling. Jungkook gazed snapped to him. "Calm down, when they are planning to attack on my basement, my business, my people, and you want me to calm down?" They both got flinch. He pointed towards the door. "Get out, both of you. Do whatever it takes you to stop this before sunset." Ruhi and Felix spoke quickly. "Yes, boss." They turned and rushed out of the room. As Ruhi stepped out into the hallway, she froze, seeing you standing near the door. "Ma'am?" You were standing quietly, wearing white dress. Your fingers were twisted nervously together. You had clearly heard the shouting. Ruhi's expression softened immediately. She leaned closer to you and whispered, "Hey, boss is upset right now. Don't go near him, okay?" You nodded quickly. "Okay." Ruhi gave a small, comforting smile to you before leaving down the hall. But suddenly your foot hit the small table. You missed the vase on top of it, fall to the ground, and shattered loudly while you lost your balance and fell on the cold floor. You tried to stand up, but the pain made you bite your lip. Just then, the study room door opened quickly, and Jungkook stepped out. His eyes immediately caught you. He saw you holding your ankle. You looked up at him with your wide, scared eyes. He stared at you for a second and then, exhaling heavily, he turned his head and walked past you without saying a word. Your heart sank. "Such an icy cold man he is. He didn't even ask. I was okay." You murmured to yourself with a low groan. You grabbed the side table and somehow you managed to stand up. And then you limped back to your room. A while later, you were laying on the soft bed while the blanket was covering your ankle. You were staring blankly at the ceiling when you heard the door open. Your breath hitched. You saw Jungkook walking inside. He looked at you with his dark eyes and then turning his head. You quickly sat straight with your both hands on your lap. He rubbed his temple before clearing his throat and then he said, your ankle." He paused. You blinked at him. He looked up at your innocent face and said, "How's your ankle now?" You flinched because that was the first time he showed some concern for you. "It is fine." Jungkook said softly, rubbing the back of his neck. "You should apply some ointment. It will hurt you later if you don't." You gulped and then nodded. Your hands were slightly trembling on your lap. "Okay." He watched you for a few seconds and then quickly looked away. He was not a man who knew how to show emotions easily. He just took off his tie silently and walked to the bathroom. Your heart thudded softly. After a while, he came back while buttoning up his black coat. You looked at his handsome, silently face and smiled. He combed his hair, sprayed his body, and then slipping into his black shoes, he rushed out. After a while, you turned on your side for the 10th time, eyes open, staring at the shadowed ceiling above. You couldn't sleep, you never really could these days. Every time you close your eyes, why was Jungkook like that? Why was he always so cold, so distant, so angry at the world and sometimes at himself? You sat softly, hugging the pillow to your chest. Well, it was an arranged marriage. You agreed to this marriage because you wanted to see your parents happy. Maybe there was a story behind that anger. Maybe he was not born cruel. These thoughts kept spinning in your head until your eyes grew heavy. The next morning, you were standing in the kitchen making green tea for Jungkook. You remember reading in one of the cookbooks that green tea with honey and ginseng helped reduce stress. You had even practiced making it only for him, as you didn't want him to be stressful. You carefully boiled the water, and once the tea was ready, you poured it into the bowl and placed it on a tray along with a small breakfast plate, just the way he liked, neatly arranged toast, eggs, and some fruit. You stood there for a moment while letting out a deep breath to calm your nerves. Just then you heard footsteps approaching from the hallway. You peeked out and saw Jungkook coming down the stairs. He had that cold expression on his face as usual, even though he was always serious, but something about his presence made your heart skip a beat. You quickly grabbed the tray and rushed to him. Jungkook looked at you while adjusting his watch. Jungkook, please have this tea from you go. I made this specially for you. Jungkook looked at you for a brief moment and said, No, Mayan, I don't think I'm also already late for my work. But you have been so stressed lately, it will help you calm down. Just one sip. He shook his head, walking past you slightly later. Fine then, if you don't drink this, I won't eat breakfast. Hearing that he stopped to walk further, he turned back slowly towards you. You giggled to yourself. What? You heard me, Jungkook. You crushed your arm stubbornly. He stared at your face and then said, You are very stubborn. And the credit goes to you because it is you who made me stubborn. Jungkook raised his eyebrow, his lips parted to say something, but then letting out a sigh, reached out and took the cup from the tray. You watched eagerly as he brought it to his lips, then he drank it in one go. You clapped your hands excitedly. Yay, you did it! His heart did a backflip as he saw you squealing, but he quickly maintained his cold composure and placing the cup on the tray, he walked out. You smiled to yourself. In the evening, you were standing in the garden while holding a watering can as you watered the plants. Your simple white dress was soaked from the splashes. Suddenly, Jungkook's black car slowly pulled up in front of the mansion gate. The engine went quiet and he stepped out. He looked tired, but when his eyes found you, everything froze. He glared at his men who quickly boarded him and rushed away. As you were watering the plants while bending slightly, you heard the footsteps. You frowned and looked back only to see Jungkook. You quickly put the water can down. Jungkook also looked away as he noticed that you were feeling little uncomfortable by his sudden presence. He cleared his throat and said without looking at you again, Go inside and change. You blinked surprised by his sudden concern and then nodded quickly. You turned and rushed inside. Your cheeks were burning. Jungkook stood there for a moment. He was a man who had lived his life surrounded by darkness and betrayal. But passing you like that, he had almost fainted. In the evening, you were sitting curled up on the sofa while watching a K drama on TV. Ah, they look so beautiful together. But then suddenly a low gas left your mouth when you heard a sudden loud thud echoed through the corridor. Then a voice came, deep, angry, familiar. You sighed. Aish! He's yelling again. You stood up, adjusted your dress, and walked to his study room. Another shout came. Even from the hallway, you could hear his words clearly. Are you both blind or just useless? I told you to handle it. You sighed deeper, muttering to yourself. Ah, poor people, you muttered while reaching his study room. As you reached it, you pushed the door open and stepped inside only to see Jungkook standing behind his desk. Ruhi and Felix stood before him, both were looking terrified. We tried, boss. He started, but Jungkook shut him off. Tried? Don't give me excuses. You are supposed to anticipate, not react. How many times do I have to tell you that? You sighed and stepped forward. Jungkook, please, that is enough. Why no? Not now. Stay out of this. But you walked closer. You are shouting again. This much anger is not good for your health. He exhaled heavily, gripping the edge of the desk. You don't understand all this, Ryan. You frowned slightly, your voice was firmer this time. No, I won't stay out. Ruhi and Felix exchanged nervous glances, unsure of whether to intervene or vanish quietly. You took another step closer. Please let me talk to them. He sighed, looking at you. No, you have talked enough. You are not helping anyone. You are just scaring them. Ryan, you cut him off. No, Jungkook, you think anger solves everything, but it doesn't. You are just hurting people who care about you. Then Jungkook slowly exhaled. You really shouldn't be saying this in front of them. But you didn't back down. Then maybe they should hear it. Jungkook, that's not strength. His nostrils flared slightly. Enough, Ryan. Don't test me right now. Let me talk to them. It is important. Before he could say further, you stepped forward. The room froze, his eyes widened slightly. And before logic could stop you, you leaned forward. Ruhi looked at Felix's jaw dropped, both of them quietly bowed, murmuring something. We will take our leave now. They both left, the door clicked shut behind them, but you didn't move. You were still frozen. You gulped and then quickly pulled away. Jungkook looked at you with his stunned eyes. I'm sorry, you muttered, and covering your face with your hands, you rushed out. The door slammed softly behind you. Jungkook stood there, still by his desk. He blinked once, twice, and then he guided his finger to his lips, a slow smirk playing across his lips. After a week, the wall between Ju and Jungkook was melting now. He was not the same angry man you once tiptoed around. Now he came home earlier, sometimes asked what you had eaten, sometimes even listened when you spoke about small things, and now you smiled more. The mansion didn't feel so cold anymore. At night, it was raining heavily outside. You were lying on the bed while hugging a pillow. Each rumble of thunder was making your shoulders jump. You whispered to yourself, ah, why does it have to be so loud? You were scared of thunders and heavy rain since your childhood. As you were struggling to sleep, the door knocked and Jungkook stepped in. He looked at you and gave you a smile. You smiled back at him. How was your day today? He looked at you while removing his shoes. Oh, it was fine. You hummed. He walked up to the bed and grabbing the pillow, he walked to the sofa and laid on it. Just then the thunder cracked and you jumped on the bed. Hey, what happened? Are you scared? He asked while sitting down. You shook your trembling hand and forced a cheeky smile. No, 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 I'm not scared. It's just, I was just thinking. Oh, you think while jumping on the bed? You puffed your cheeks. Fine, I'm little scared of rain and heavy thunder. Oh, he stood up and grabbing the pillow. He looked at you for a moment and then placing the pillow down, he sat on the edge. You frowned with your red cheeks. Your heartbeat raced faster, you gulped and slowly laid down, pulling the blanket up to your chin. Okay, then, but don't blame me if I talk in my sleep. I will take the risk. He chuckled softly. After a while, suddenly the loud thunder shook the window. You flinched and leaned forward. He slowly tilted his head towards you to see your calm, peaceful face. His heart began to race. Then your eyes fluttered open. Oh, I'm sorry, you whispered, embarrassed. It's fine. Your cheeks warmed instantly and you turned your face to the other side, trying to hide your smile. You don't need to be scared. Your breath caught. You turned slowly, meeting his eyes, his smile placing his hand on yours. Jungkook looked down at your beautiful face. His heart was finally at ease.